What's up, y'all? It's Jade Novah from Cleveland, Ohio, and I want you guys to make sure you tune in to the Chris Gunther Show. Support Black art.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Chris Gunther Show. Appreciate y'all for all your support. Remember to like and share this video. I would greatly appreciate it. On today's show, we are so honored to have the one, the only Miss Jade Novah. How you doing today, Jade?
I'm great. How you doing?
Great. I'm glad we finally getting a chance to knock this out. I know it's been in the works for a little
Yeah.
bit now.
Yeah, no, I think when I was for my stages tour, I think, right? We were supposed to connect the one that got canceled right before quarantine. So yeah, it's been a long time coming.
I know, right? I was looking forward to it, but I guess everything still has to happen the way it's supposed to happen, and we
Yeah,
just go from there. How's everything coming for you?
everything's good. I'm good. It's been a good day so far. How about you?
Not too bad. I'm above 6 feet. So since I'm above 6 feet, I think I'll take it.
Oh, okay. What you mean, like your height?
No, I wish I was 6 feet. That'd be a lot of
Oh,
fun.
wait a minute. You mean you above ground, Lord?
That's how I
I'm
know
like
you've been
he's.
busy.
I'm like he's really grateful to be tall.
Yeah, see, if I could be tall, that'd be great. But I mean, it's all right. God couldn't give me everything, but he gave me enough. So I'll go ahead and keep it pushing.
I got you now. It is a late reaction.
It's all good. And you got a new project out entitled Where Have I Been? Can you go ahead and share with us a little bit about it?
Yes. So Where Have I Been? It's my third studio album, and I call it a concept album because it's a hybrid of storytelling and a contemporary R&B album. So I like to call it visuals through sound because the way the album is set up, it's intended for you to listen in order from beginning to end on the first listen so that you can really immerse yourself in the world that I created with my husband, Devin Johnson, who executive produced it. He has a background in film scoring and composing, so he used those parts of his gifts in this album as well, from just hearing the ambient sounds to just producing the tracks. Like everything feels like you're just kind of, yeah, immersing yourself into the world of the project. And then theme wise, I call it a love language origin story because it goes back into my childhood and just sort of my relationship with my father and him not really being able to articulate love in the way that, a little girl might have wanted or needed to hear in her childhood, hearing I love you or hearing those affirmations. And so going on that journey of my relationships and how words of affirmation became something that I longed for in these connections, but at the same time, how words of affirmation, words are like spells. They're a very powerful thing. And as much as you need affirmation as a young woman, knowing that I was very vulnerable and sort of gullible in thinking that my relationships only needed to be based on hearing I love you. So that, even if you didn't mean it, you could say these things to sort of manipulate me. And it goes through that journey of me having these sort of you know, limited connections based on what it was I was looking for, which was just really hearing affirmations and then ultimately learning how to use words of affirmation to affirm myself. So it's this sort of journey through therapy, healing, reflection, accountability, having this conversation with my father as an adult and us being able to sort of talk about our generational traumas and things that we've gone through and giving each other grace and learning more about each other through that process. And so it's a healing album, but it also is fun and lighthearted as well. There's really cool features on it, and yeah, Tabitha Brown, she plays my therapist on the album. Wayne Brady, he plays my father. Leslie Odom Jr., he plays my love interest Miles. Gail Bean, an incredible actress, she plays my best friend Toya. And then I have some really cool music features as well. Kenyon Dixon, a fellow independent artist, and Tariana Tank Ball from Tank and the Bangers. She's also on the project. So that's where have I been in a nutshell.
Talk about a great summary, right? Because yeah, you basically answered a nice amount of questions I was about to ask, but it's all good. One of the best parts, though, as I was listening to you and I could see the joy, but I can also feel that this was therapeutic for you as well because you had
Yes.
to open up about a lot of things. Was it challenging for you to open up in particular about your relationship with your father?
hmm Yeah, I mean, definitely therapeutic and definitely something like my father and I have a really great relationship. And a lot of the things on a lot of the conversations on the album reflect conversations that I've actually had with my dad. More specifically, there's an interlude called Accountability where I talk to him about sort of the reasons why. And, I was kind of touching on it in that summary, but him explaining to me that he thought hearing I love you was only something that happened on television shows. Like he was just doing the best that he could, with what he knew love to be. And so in us having those actual conversations in life and getting that healing that way, and then me telling him like, hey, dad, I really want to tell this story because I think it's important for daughters and their fathers or whatever dynamic it is that exists, whether it's mother son, mother daughter, whatever that looks like, to be able to have those conversations to really heal, because there's so much negativity around the blame game and sort of pointing the finger, and it's easy to say, oh well, I messed up because of this or I messed up because of that. But there's an accountability that's important for us to be able to experience, and in having those conversations, realizing like there's healing in that, to release and sort of relinquish that responsibility from someone else. And at some point, you have to take accountability for how you show up in your future relationships and how you show up as a mother or father to your children. It was very therapeutic, and I'm grateful that he gave me his blessing to do that. And he has been so supportive of this project. I mean, he listened to it the day it came out with his headphones. He sent me flowers. And since us having that conversation, really just understanding the why and holding himself accountable. So yes, not only the album was healing, but just sort of the conversations that came up from me wanting to make this project were healing as well. And so many people have sent me messages since it's come out saying that this is a story that is very similar to them, whether it's the way they showed up in their relationships or whether it was recognizing like, oh yeah, I didn't really hear those things. Maybe that is why. And so that was my objective, was to sort of help healing on a collective level of other people to be able to tap in and really do the inner work and that inner child work.
If you can have a conversation with a young Jade,
Mm.
with everything that you've accomplished, the good, the bad, the having to overcome a lot of things and realizing that, your love language is words of affirmation. If you could have a conversation with the young Jade, what would you tell her?
Mm. I would tell her that you are more than enough. You are worthy of love, and you have the power, you have the magic, and you don't need external validation to affirm what you already should know about yourself. And that's that you are beautiful, you are necessary, and you are magic.
I love magical moments. There were a lot of
Mhm.
magical moments throughout this project. If you could pinpoint one that stood out to you the most, what do you think that would be?
Mm. Honestly, it's what I just mentioned with um that song Maybe It's Me. There's an interlude called Accountability, and then it transitions into the song Maybe It's Me, and it's a father-daughter duet, which I haven't really heard in R&B music. You usually hear romantic love or breakup love or those sorts of duets. So to me, that was a magical moment, making that song with Wayne Brady, and just experiencing that accountability through song between a father and a daughter. I think that was definitely magical. Yeah.
As an independent artist, it's harder because you are
Yeah.
putting literally everything into what you do. And sometimes people will not give you a chance to showcase, let alone want to collaborate. How did
Mhm.
you and Wayne Brady collaborate on this, especially, with him being who he is, and like how were you able to even get that going?
Mm. Well, it's crazy. That's also something that has been a healing journey for me, honestly, is my ability to open up my mouth and ask for the things that I want. Because, it's a lot of anxieties around reaching out to people that I admire, people that I want to work with. So that's something I had to work through too in real time with this project. But every single person that I reached out to, Wayne Brady included, are people that I admire, or people that exist in spaces that I'm trying to manifest for myself. Like Wayne Brady and Leslie Odom Jr. are both on Broadway right now, and that is an aspiration of mine. Tabitha Brown is killing it in the vegan plant-based lifestyle space, and I've been plant-based for 7 years and admire her trajectory. And then Gail Bean, she's an actress on Snowfall and P Valley, like killing it right now. And television in that world is something I want to get into. And then Tony Baker with the comedy and stand-up is also a world that I'm trying to manifest for myself as well. So me realizing like, hey, I am worthy of just having a conversation. And the worst thing that these people could say is no. But to answer your question, I met Wayne Brady when I lived in Los Angeles. I think around 2016, he was creating an improv music show, and he had reached out to me through social media. He had seen some of the comedy sketches and things that I've done, and knew that I also sang as well, and said, I want you to be a part of it. So it was like maybe a week-long workshop where we did games and improv and music. And so we bonded there and sort of kept in contact. Like I met his daughter there, and his daughter's mother, and his family is just so lovely and beautiful. And yeah, he became a bit of a mentor in that sense, of someone that um yeah, I felt like I could look to, and someone who existed in, like I said, that Broadway space, someone who's been in music and comedy and all these things. And so yeah, when I asked him, he didn't hesitate. He made himself available and went above and beyond to like take up space in that role of my father.
He paid it forward. Somebody had to do that for him. So now that he was able to do that for you, I know that was a blessing. And people all over have been responding so greatly to the project. You like earlier you had mentioned that you've been receiving a ton of text messages about, man, this is really inspiring to me, and it's healing a lot of people and things of that, nature. When you're creating a project, you don't necessarily know how it's going to turn out in terms of receptive, from everybody else. But when you get those messages of how much this is helping other people, how does that make you feel?
Oh my goodness. I mean, that's the ultimate payoff. That is the ultimate success, because that was the intention in this project. Like my husband and I were very intentional about what we wanted this project to mean. So whether or not that was a healing experience for 5 people or 5 million people, as long as the people who listened to it took something away from it, that was the intention. So that means everything to me. Because that was my objective, was just people to do the inner work, to have those conversations, to cry if they needed to cry, because we don't always get that space to do so, especially in our community.
Yep.
So yeah, I think, and again, this was beyond text messages. These were like DMs of people I had never even met before, men, women of all ages and races and backgrounds, and just saying like, I got a good cry and I realized I needed it, and I realized that I have been holding on to stuff, and just kind of educating people about what inner child work actually is. I'm creating a self-love journal that's sort of a companion journal, or a sort of a workbook that complements the album that I'm releasing soon for free, actually, to anyone who wants to have it, just to kind of help people process it. Because I'm seeing now, like, people are going through it, or they're healing, and now they kind of don't know the next step. It's like, okay, I want to do inner child work. What is inner child work? Or what are these things? What are the tools I can do? So now my next step is to give people something else, and a place to kind of process and journal and write, and activities that they can do to really heal, to help heal their inner child, and the things I've learned in therapy.
What are some of the things that you feel that you still need to continue to heal from, even though you're good and grown now? A lot of times we look back over and say, man, if I would have knew this years ago, it could have helped me on my journey. So if you could, maybe sit back and say, man, like, what else can I heal from? Like if you had to maybe choose something, what do you think that would be?
Ooh, I mean, honestly, I can't even say that I am healed. I think that healing is a never ending journey. Like, I think that what sort of shifted for me is the way that I show up in moments where things might be triggered, or for me in real time, it's like now I'm learning how to navigate change in a better way than I have before. So, and maybe I pass and maybe I fail, but I now have more tools with how to process it, and the ability to give myself grace in the moments when I'm not all like, kumbaya about shit. I'm not perfect by any means. So to answer your question, there's many things that I still need as far as my healing is concerned. But yeah, I think just now having the tools and knowing that I have therapy as a resource when I need it, and I have these different activities to honor my inner child, like, and it's not even this crazy uh it's not this crazy involved act. Like when you say inner child work, I know it sounds like so like deep, but it's really as simple as honoring what you truly want inside of yourself, because that inner voice, it doesn't go anywhere. Like we're all just like little kids in grown-up clothes, trying, with more responsibilities, like just trying to figure stuff out in real time. So, and we ignore that childlike part of ourselves as we get older, and it's not as affirmed as we get older. When we're kids, we get recess and we go outside and we put our feet in the grass and we roll around and we color and we ride our bikes and we listen to music and we dance like nobody's watching. Like that's the inner child work that I'm referring to. It's like very simple, of just giving yourself the freedom to just exist without all of these expectations and agreements that have been shoved on us as adults. And so for me, inner child work is just taking my shoes off and literally just going in the grass and standing there for a second, or coloring, or dancing like nobody's watching. So yeah, and it's interesting because I have a 15-year-old son, and even being a mother is heavy inner child work, because when I see things come up for him, I have to work through things that came up for me around his same age, or just when he just wants to play or do something like, "Mom, let's go to the movies." I'm like, okay, yeah, like you're right. Let me stop working for a second and honor that part of myself. So yeah.
I noticed when, soon as you mentioned your son, you just had this glow about you. You had this just big smile, and that's great. How much does family mean to you?
Oh, it means everything to me. It does. It really does. Like I mentioned, I have a really great relationship with my dad, um, and yeah, I do glow up and glow when I think about my son, because he brings me so much joy and he's brought me so much healing just in our relationship and our connection. And yeah, family means everything to me. And this project was a labor of love, in that, I made it with my husband and I consulted with my father. And so yeah, it's all about family for me. I work with my husband full time, so I better be about that family life.
Yeah, like how are you guys balancing that? Because usually spouses don't work together, and if they do, the marriage kind of crumbles.
Ooh, is that how it is?
Usually that's how it is. I'm just saying.
Is it? Dang. I mean, I think it's, I get that, but I feel like it's such a joy, like, because we're on the same schedule. We get to, and maybe it's because of the career we're in, right? Because I'm sure maybe there's instances where that could be a little, well, let me not even act like it's not difficult sometimes, and something that we do have to work at, because of course, like you said, like lines can get blurred when you have a marriage, but then you also have a business together, so you do have to be extra careful, because if one thing is, suffering, then it could affect the other parts of y'all's connection. But I think, like, for us and in what we do, we're so passionate about music, and no day looks like the same day. Like every day is different. We're traveling, we're performing together, we're creating together, and it's a beautiful thing. But I think how we stay balanced is really just doing the work, making sure that we're communicating effectively, making sure that we're being intentional with taking time to nurture the different parts of our relationship. And Devin, he's very organized. He is an Aries with a Virgo rising child. I don't know what that means to you, but if you know anything about astrology, he is about his business. And I'm the complete opposite when it comes to the structure part, because I'm like all air and water, in my stuff. So he helps to balance me out, and he helps keep us in order. He has a very beautiful schedule for us that helps keep our business in order, but then makes time for us to have time for our family and to make sure that we're nurturing our relationship and our friendship. So we definitely have to be strategic and intentional about keeping that balance, for sure.
Beyond glad that you were able to break all of that down, because I was really curious about that. So I'm glad that you were able to hit on it. A native of Cleveland, Ohio. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing in the
Yeah, man.
216.
8216, period. I'm from Cleveland. Yeah. I mean, you because you're from Youngstown, right?
330 all day.
Oh,
I
Lord.
mean, don't get me wrong now. I love Cleveland. Y'all have grown on a brother because I do work up there. But I'm a South Sider 330, but this ain't my interview. It's about you. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying that to say you understand how unpredictable the weather is. That was a thing for me. Like, Cleveland weather was wild, but I definitely think it gave us a lot more, at least for me, the ability to be really creative, because we couldn't always go outside because the snow would be past our foreheads. And even still, though, we still had to walk to school in that too, right?
Kids that have no idea.
They have no idea. But yeah, I think growing up in Cleveland, it gave me a well-rounded sense of self. We got all the seasons. I know I keep making that comparison to the weather, but there's something about Cleveland weather that gives you a little bit of of something.
Don't it? And Youngstown is the exact same way because we didn't had
Yeah.
all 4 seasons yesterday.
And that's what I'm talking about. The unpredictability, it is preparing you for life, right? Because Cleveland is no joke. But yeah, I grew up in Maple Heights. I went to Maple Heights City Schools my whole life. I went to Bedford High School for a little while. And yeah, Cleveland was Cleveland.
I know
you
what
know,
that means.
we grew up on the whole wings, the B&M wings, and the hot sauce Williams, and the Polish boys, and all that stuff that I had no business eating.
I just think when you're young, you don't really understand that. And then I guess as you get a little older, you like, okay, yeah, maybe this wasn't the best idea, but you just make the adjustments as you go forward.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, I understand, most singers always get their start in church. Is that what happened with you as well?
Honestly, I would not say that's where I got my musical footing from. No, and I know that is a lot of people's stories. I would say a little later in life, like towards the end of my teenage years, I would sing a little bit more in the church. But growing up, we went to so many different types of churches. And so some of the churches that I would go to as a kid were more predominantly white sometimes, and the music is not the same as how it is in black churches. Music wasn't really even a big part of their worship experience. So that's why I say that in my early years that wasn't really my story. But eventually, as I got older and I was able to pick where I wanted to go to church, I ended up going to the Word Church when I was around like 15 or 16 years old, and I would sing in the choir then. But I would say more of my foundation in music just came from my home, because my dad, he plays multiple instruments. He was in a rock band when he was younger. And my sisters, I have two older sisters, and they sing as well. And my mother was really big on like musical theater. She had like Sound of Music and West Side Story on vinyl. Like, yeah, so it's just really eclectic. And just in my house, just music was sort of a love language for us. And my dad and I and my older sister, we would go and sing at nursing homes and sing around the city. And so that was really my start. And then I also sang in a girl group in Cleveland as well, for a huge part of my childhood.
From there, move to LA, you're doing your thing out there. you started to do things that most people back home only dream about because you actually were able to take the leap and just jump. How scary was that for you at first?
Mm. Well, you know what? I actually moved to Atlanta first before LA because of that very reason of taking that leap was a little bit scary for me. So I'm like, okay, Atlanta is a nice segue into Los Angeles. There's an industry there. The cost of living is more familiar to that of a Cleveland. So yeah, it,
I love
it
how you
and it's
put that
actually
to that of a Cleveland.
to that of a Cleveland. And that's where I met Devin. That's where I met my husband at a writing camp down here in Atlanta. So we were both on the same page when we first met, as far as our goal being to live in Los Angeles. So as we continue to build and grow and in our music, but then also falling in love, I was able to take that leap to LA with him. So I didn't have to be alone. And I'm grateful for the way that it all worked out. But definitely scary though when I first moved to Atlanta because I didn't have any family down here. And ultimately we moved back to Atlanta in around 2019. So Atlanta is where I am now. But yeah, not having any family, because like we said, family is important to me. And yeah, it was definitely scary. But I met Devin 2 weeks into living in Atlanta. So I wasn't alone for very long.
That's amazing too. That the fact that you
Yeah.
guys have that kind of story, and your story, there's no way we can have you here without talking about how a lot of people started to become familiar with you. With
Mhm.
all the impressions that you were doing, and then it starts to blow up on social media. But then people start to pay attention to your music as well. Was
Mhm.
that kind of a way that you wanted people to pay attention to your music? Was by doing the impressions?
Mm. Well, I've always looked at myself as a multi hyphenate, and I admired like the multi hyphenates of previous generations, but then also the Jamie Foxxes and Donald Glover, or as you know in his music, Childish Gambino, Nick Cannons, like these artists, Kiki Palmer, these multi hyphenates who take up space in so many different ways. And so my intention was always to be a multi hyphenate. I don't know if I would say that I thought the comedy would bring people to the music, because when I was first doing it, it really was just to showcase my comedy and my storytelling. But then as I kept creating, I'm like, let me start putting the music into the comedy. And then I think when I started to fuse those two together is when people are like, oh, she can actually sing. Like, does she have music? And then they would find the music. Or, yeah. So I guess it sort of was the intention, but really it was just to lay a foundation of I'm a Jade of all trades. You're not going to know what you're going to get. My goals are to have a one woman show, to have a variety show, to be on Broadway. And so I just wanted to layer that story instead of just getting people so used to music that if I shifted or pivoted into comedy, they didn't take it seriously, or vice versa. So, yeah, it was definitely intentional to build all of my interest in storytelling, comedy, music, wellness simultaneously, you know.
Being a Jade of all trades, I think I'm gonna have to use that. That's kind of nice. Never heard that one before. That's kind of dope. You know, I think one of the best parts about what you do is you're showing your range and you're showing that you cannot be boxed in. What advice would you give to those other creators that don't feel like they want to be boxed in?
Mm. Don't be boxed in. I mean, I know that sounds so like literal, but it's true. I mean, I know that we are in a beautiful time where we don't have to rely on major labels or major networks to get our art out. And so social media is this beautiful tool where people are craving authenticity. Like, brands are even more connected to influencers than they are actual artists who are celebrities through their respective fields. So authenticity is what people are longing for, and if it is your authenticity to be a multi hyphenate and take up space in multiple ways, then do it. Like, who gonna shake you?
This is true. Like, how are you able to stay so authentic? Like, how are you able to stay so true to yourself and you're staying very authentic? Because the industry or just social media a lot of times can change people.
mm. I mean, that's the only way I know how to be. Like, my version of success has shifted over the years, and for me success is only doing the things that make me happy. And that's all that I strive to do. Like, I have no desire to do anything that doesn't bring me joy. And so the moment I'm doing things that don't bring me joy, then I'll know that I'm stepping out of my authenticity. So that gives me an easy gauge of how to stay within the realm of authenticity for me, because I wear my heart on my sleeve. If I'm not vibing with something, it will show. It'll show in my body. It will show in my spirit. Like, I can't. Yeah, I can't get down with that, Chris. I can't do
I think maybe that's just because of where we're from. We kind of from the same region. I'm the same way. My face
it.
will tell me before anybody else. Like my wife
Child.
will tell me all the time, like your face is telling. And I'm like, there's a reason my face is saying it because if my mouth does, it ain't gonna be too pretty. Okay, I'm gonna
You
leave that there.
understand?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave
No.
that there. Who would your dream collaboration be?
Ooh, who would my dream collaboration be? I would love to collaborate with Jamie Foxx. I think that would be so fire. Like, and not just with music, but in some sort of comedy, music, storytelling hybrid. Oh my gosh. Yes, I would. That would be amazing.
Especially because both of you have such a very good background. You guys are very like y'all can do it all. You can sing, he can sing, you can act, he can act, he's funny, you're funny, and all of that stuff is just dope. Like one of my favorite things of you that got I think all of us through all that stuff that we were dealing with 4 years ago in the pandemic, it was all the videos you were making. From the I want to say it was the dinner table with think it was Erica Badu and Cardi
Oh,
B and
real divas.
yeah, that was a like stuff like that got us through. Like when you hear
Um,
people even bring stuff like that up to you, does that kind of make you want to recreate that?
Yeah, no, and thank you, first of all, and I appreciate it. I was just having so much fun doing it, and we had the time and the space and the energy to do it.
Yeah.
Honestly, that whole situation came about because because before that I was really doing a lot more just Beyonce specific. And I think I had done one video before, like, called Sleigh Bells. It was a Christmas video where I had like all of the divas doing these different things, but I was still very nervous to step out of the impersonations that I was comfortable with, or, outside of the realm of just doing quick little sketches. But I had gotten reached out to by SNL to audition, and I made it really, really far. Like, to test week, I was in the final group of people, the final 8, I think, to get on that season right before quarantine happened.
Mm.
And so, yes, that really gave me this affirmation of like, sis, don't sleep on your comedy gifts. Like, I know that music is your love, and comedy has been something you played around with, but you have something and you should really showcase it in a different way. And so that's where Real Divas came from, was like, you know what, let me really combine all this stuff together and really tell some stories. And so, yeah, that's where it came from. And it hasn't made me want to recreate anything else. I think that everything that I do now has had that storytelling element. I don't necessarily want to have to rely on the impersonations anymore as much. I mean, they'll come up, like, even when I do my live shows, I'll have an impersonation bit or a comedy bit in them with the music. But yeah, I think if nothing else, people were more invested in the story than in the fact that they were people that they recognized me impersonating, because I went on from there to create these characters called the inner Jays, who were basically like my chakras or 3 parts of my emotions, and they manifested as a girl group. And I used that exact same format of that 60-second storytelling through music, sort of cliffhanger, murder mystery type of energy that I had with Real Divas, and applied it to other characters, and it did equally well. So I'm like, okay, people just like to hear stories. And so that again is why with the album, I'm like, I'm going to keep telling stories, because people, I mean, we even see it now. There's that viral video on TikTok of that woman just telling her story about how she married someone she didn't know.
Yeah, the
People,
50-part video.
and they don't know her from anybody else, but there's a story. And so that, I'm realizing, is bigger than doing a Beyonce impersonation or doing X, Y, and Z. It's like people just want to hear stories that they can relate to. And so, yeah, that is something that I'm always going to have as an element of everything I do, because stories are everything.
Yes, they are. And that Beyonce impression you had was everything too. Just want to
Thank you.
because as I was looking at it, I'm like, yo, that's scary how that could like if you close your eyes for a second, you would really think that was big. So we understand that, that is something that people start to really kind of know you as, but you broke out of that quickly because you never want to be
Mhm.
boxed in. Does it ever get annoying when people just try to say, oh yeah, that's just a girl that can do impressions of Beyonce?
No, I don't think it's annoying. I mean, because if that's how they know me, I'm grateful that they think that my impersonation skills are great, you know? So, I mean, yeah, I don't expect for everyone to know every single part of me, but if they discover my music, I just hope that they respect the integrity of what I bring in that space as well. But if that's all they know me for, then cool, then keep consuming that and keep running those streams up.
Hey, nothing wrong with running those streams up. Did she ever
Yeah.
see it? Like, did her people ever reach out to you and say, "Hey, keep doing that because she likes it"?
Yes, actually, recently, when her Renaissance film came out in December, her publicist reached out and said, they asked me to make some content around the release of the film. And so her label, Beyonce's label Parkwood, the video still exists. It's on their page on Instagram, and it had to get approved by Beyonce. So yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. And they used it as a promotional tool for as the rollout for the film. So it has been Beyonce approved, y'all. So it's all good.
I'm gonna put this out there. I just kind of think it would be kind of nice if Jade and Beyonce collaborated. Just want to put that out there. Just saying.
Ashe. I would love that. I would love it. She's in
That
her country bag right now.
I'm just saying, hey, I personally love to see our people succeed, but it's something about when you see black women succeed. It just does something to you because you guys
Yes.
are very powerful and things that you have all had to overcome is something that, we as men and as kings need to always acknowledge you because we can't do this without y'all.
Oh, right. And we can't do it without y'all either.
Yeah, we need each other. We need
We
to
do.
and that's something that, I'm grateful for. One of my favorite songs that you have is called Cycles. You have
Mm.
Cycles and then you have Try and then you have Somebody's Son. And that stuff is beautiful. The way that you're able to just create all of this magical music. What can the people expect from you next?
Oh, well, I mean, right now, and thank you so much. I love all those songs as well. No
Oh,
bias. But yeah, I mean, right now I'm really just enjoying this season of Where Have I Been? It's been out, it came out earlier this month, and now no, wait, what month are we in? This
we're
is
in
March?
March.
Yes, it came out earlier this month.
That's how you
I'm
know you
like,
busy. You like, dude, what month is this? Like,
I'm
what?
like, what day is it? Yeah. So I'm in Where Have I Been world, just really doing everything that I can to get it in the ears and spirits of anybody. And I'm working on my next project already, which again will also have that storytelling element. Um, but yeah, I'm in Where Have I Been world.
We're glad that our worlds collaborated and have collided. Before we jump out of here, I gotta also hit on this. Some of my favorite covers that you've done have been Adele. It have been, Earth Song, and I want to say you also did one. That's what I like with Bruno Mars with your husband,
Mhm.
and those things did crazy numbers. Would you go back to doing things like that as well?
Yeah, no, I love doing covers. It's I mean, if you look at some of the greats like Whitney Houston and Luther Vandross, like some of their biggest records are cover songs. Like I Will Always Love You is a Dolly Parton cover.
Damn.
So yeah, it covers. I will never be too above that. I love being able to reimagine and reinterpret songs that I love, that I grew up listening to, or that I'm just inspired from currently. So yeah, I will always do. You will always be able to rely on me for a nice little cover from time to time.
Nothing wrong with that. And your voice also is amazing because you do voiceovers. You were actually got a chance to work on The Simpsons. Can you share with us a little bit about how that
Yes.
experience went for you?
It was so much fun. I mean, I didn't even realize that it was this bucket list experience for me until the opportunity came. And I'm like, holy crap, like this is really amazing. I grew up watching The Simpsons, and it's yeah, I've always loved doing voiceover work. I've been able to do a few cartoons as well. Sugar and Toys. Shout out to Carl Jones. He's an incredible animator, creative, comedian, writer, all of the things. And I did 2 seasons of his animated special, Sugar and Toys, and so that gave me the experience and foundation of when the Simpsons opportunity came. Like, it was very easy to do because I had been doing it with him for a few years. And yeah, so I got to play 2 characters on it, Echo and Ashley Starling, and they were in this little feud with Homer Simpson being in the middle of it. And the cool thing about the episode was it wasn't just doing voiceover. Like, I got to voice these 2 very different characters and then sing the songs for their characters as well. So it was a musical episode of The Simpsons. And I'm like, they better just give me this opportunity to be in my gifts. Like, it was surreal, and I still cannot believe that it happened. Like, amazing. I'm so grateful.
I can believe it just because it's you. Just want to put that out
Ah,
there.
thank
Everything with all the great things, we're going to continue to wish you all the best coming to the end now. How can people support you and how can they support the project?
Well, you can find me on all social media platforms, Jade Novah, JadeNovah. Don't forget the H. And yeah, you can get my album Where Have I Been on all digital platforms. Like I said, make sure you listen the first time you listen to it from beginning to end, because it is a complete story. And then after that, then you can go find your favorite songs and add them to your playlist. But it is a unique storytelling experience that I really want to encourage you all to listen to from beginning to end.
Before we jump off of here, who would you say are some of the biggest inspirations for you as far as music?
Mm.
Because I know it's a lot, but if you could just like maybe condense it to like maybe like 2 or 3, who would you say are probably the biggest inspirations for you?
Mm-hmm. Stevie Wonder, for sure. He's an incredible, the way that he paints the picture of music is like nobody else, and his voice is like nobody else. Stevie Wonder, Whitney Houston, and mm, oh goodness, there's so many. It is. There's a Brandy. Brandy's definitely up there for me. She is.
I would love to see that collaboration too, just putting it out there.
I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed because it almost happened on this last project. I ain't gonna hold you. It almost
Woo!
happened. She heard the record. Actually, it was the title track, Where Have I Been, from this project. I sent it to her. She loved it, but she said, no, Jay, this song has to be you because it's your story and it's your song. And I'm grateful that she, acknowledged that, and understood the vision of what I was creating with that song, needing to be a song that I just told that story by myself. But maybe, maybe she'll hop on a remix. I don't know, but we're gonna claim it. We're gonna claim it.
Yeah, we gonna claim it that Beyonce and Brandy gonna work with Jade. One of the last questions that I always ask my guests, and they never see it coming. So this is what I love. So they never see this coming. It's nothing crazy. It's just coming from where we come from, shoot or shoot. That's what we do. Who would you like to see as a guest on the Chris Gunther show? And if you have any contact, do you think you can help a young brother out?
Oh, who would I like to see on the show? Duran Bernard. Have you had him yet?
I have not. So maybe that's something we gotta work on.
Yeah, no, I will definitely pass that along. Yeah, he's a Cleveland native. He is so talented. Are you from you gotta be familiar with Duran, right?
I
He's
am.
incredible. He is incredible. And yeah, that would be dope.
Now, let's see if we can do that one more
Yeah.
time. Can you go ahead and let us know how can we support the project before we get out of here?
Yes, it's called Where Have I Been? Make sure you get it. It's on all digital streaming platforms right now. You can go on my website, jadenovahofficial.com, or just find me at Jade Novah on all social media platforms.
Appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen. Jade Novah on the Chris Gunther Show. Be sure to support the new project. I'll see y'all next time. I gotta go.